What up guys, Sumel983 here bringing you another album review, and this time we've got some hard hitting as fuck deathcore for you to check out today, and I'm going to be reviewing the new Bodysnatcher album entitled This Heavy Void. This is released under Stasic Recordings in 2020. Now, if you're not too familiar with Bodysnatcher, they are a 4-piece deathcore band hailing from the US, and I first got introduced to this band quite a while back with the band's debut EP entitled Abandonment, which for all it's still Bodysnatcher through and through. That release is more of a straight up down-tempo sort of release. If you're familiar with it, you'll know exactly what I'm talking about. It was in the wake of the likes of Deli Plaza, Black Tongue and Traitors when it first came out, and the down-tempo genre really exploded onto the deathcore world and the music scene in general, and that EP is absolutely fantastic, don't get me wrong, but the band started to change up their sound and go for more of a more beatdown influence sort of vibe, like adding more elements of hardcore in there, just to make it that little bit more aggressive. And that came in wake of a debut album in 2017, if I'm not mistaken, entitled The Death of Me, which in all honesty, I listened to that so fucking much when it first came out, and I still listen to it quite a bit, and especially in 2018 when they released a deluxe version of the album with 3 extra brand new songs. I think it was 3 or 4 brand new tracks for us, and it just expanded that release and made it just even more messed up, heavy, and just more violent than I could handle and fathom, you know. It was absolutely fantastic. But in that wake, they got the new drummer who's on this album, Chris, who used to be in King Conqueror, and now he used to do not only the extreme drum work that was on King Conqueror's music, but he also delivered some like mid-tone sort of harsher vocals in there for good measure, just to break up the sound with what's his name, James. You know, those 2 vocal dynamics coming in on that band just really worked. So I was really interested to see what it could bring to Bodysnatcher's overall sound, and from the tracks that I heard on The Death of Me, I thought, yeah, he's brought something really new and interesting, some really unique grooves into the overall sound of Bodysnatcher. So I was eager to see what was going to come following that, and then eventually we got a new album entitled This Heavy Void. So yeah, it's 13 tracks and runs 40 minutes in length, and this album has been out for quite a few months now, and I've only decided to review it now because I feel like I need to, because this album is quickly growing to become one of my favourite and go-to albums when it comes to 2020's release radar, because this album from beginning to end is just smack bang wallop and just full of intensity, and it's got a lot going for it, and the catchiness of it is something to behold as well. The lyrical flows, the intensity, because this, in my opinion, is the most aggressive album and most intense album I have heard in 2020. Like, I've heard different forms of intensity, but I've never found something this aggressive in 2020 so far. I mean, this is absolutely in your face as it gets, and Bodysnatcher's vocalist Kyle, He's always been an in-your-face sort of style vocals, like with his intensity and his abilities to push that rage into a musical release, you could say, has always blown my mind. Like, every release, you've felt a lot of animosity in his vocal delivery, whereas I feel like this one is another level of it. Like, I've heard hardcore bands that haven't, like, some of my favourite hardcore bands can't even touch the amount of anger that is on this album, if you ask me. And you may think, well, there's a lot more to a vocal delivery than anger. Yes, but you feel every bit of emotion in those vocals as well. Like, the delivery is just spot on, if you ask me, and I'll get to that a little bit further on, because I really want to talk about the musicianship on this album being a I feel like it's a more forward-thinking album compared to the Death of Me. Like, the Death of Me was a fantastic album, but it had some a couple of dull moments in there, which, in my opinion, prevented it from being in my top albums, because like there was some like tracks that I didn't really feel as much. Whereas this album, I definitely feel like this album, track for track, is absolutely fantastic from beginning to end, because every track has a unique factor to it, like whether it be the breakdown, the riffs, or just the intensity or the grooves. There is always something different going on with the feels and the grooves in there to make it interesting and still very fresh when you listen to it. Like, not every breakdown or beatdown or drop in tempo riff sounds exactly the same as another song. It just feels so punishing to listen to. Like, and also I feel like that contributes a lot from the recording process on this album, because I feel like the overall recording sound just feels very mighty when you listen to it. It's filled with a lot of girth and a lot of beef behind it. Like, especially the drum work on this album was definitely something that I'm seeing really impressed us a lot with the grooves and all that. But overall, the overall sound of the drums just executes so fucking well, and the way it just feels like a really natural sounding kit. Like, every single part of that kick pops. Even the drums, the bass drum, sorry, like just packs a wallop. Even just the ride accents that are put in there, just to give it that real you know, the ride bell, just adding that up. Like, a lot of bands are doing it nowadays, but I feel like it just executes so well. It honestly feels like a wrestling bell, you know, kicking off, ready to kick off an absolute onslaught of bodies flying in the pit. And I feel that every time I listen to this album, when those sort of bell hits just come in, it just executes that refinedness, you know, behind it. It just executes so well. I absolutely love it. But in general, the cymbals, the snare, the pop on that snare is just incredible. It just packs a wallop in itself. Like, you know, just the overall drum tones on this album, absolutely incredible. And we'll get to Chris's vocals in a little bit, because I want to talk about the dynamics between the two vocalists a little bit more. But the riffs on this album are definitely something that I really admire a lot. Like, every bit of riff on this album makes you want to headbang, and even the faster parts make you want to headbang. And I feel like there's a lot of faster riffs that don't make you want to headbang, like maybe do a circle headbang or whatever. But this album definitely has that factor going for it on like some of the faster parts on here. But all in all, it's just a really groovy deathcore sort of release. It's not like blistering fast from beginning to end. There's a lot of more feel-good riffs on here that really just pack a wallop and just are there to have fun and make everything just go absolutely chaotic. But it really executes, and the guitar tone is so thick and rich sounding. Like, every pick action, you can feel every pick attack going through these riffs from the first track all the way to the end. Like, everything is just played with aggression. You can feel like an aggressive factor coming from the guitars alone, but the riffs in general are something to behold. Like, there's so many good riffs on this album that I could name, but it would just end up being every single song on this album. But honestly, absolutely fantastic work on the riff department. And even the bass, really warm sounding bass that really kind of feels a little bit out of place in some ways, but it really helps it like break up the sound, because the drums are sounding massive, the guitars are sounding massive, but the bass in the middle is just like a warm sense of glue holding the two together, and it really just makes it feel a little bit more warmer sounding, but it still packs the wallop, if you know what I mean. But if you notice the bass, you'll know exactly what I mean. It's just a really nice warm sense of bass in there that really feels really nice in the mix. So well done on that home front. And I will say this though, because we're going to finally get onto it, the vocal work is already, I've said, the emotion coming from Kyle's vocals, but I feel like the dynamics between Chris and Kyle's vocals, like Kyle's aggressive, like low vocals, like the aggressive lyrics that are on here. There's a lot of angry lyrics on here. You need to read the lyrics to know what I'm on about, because they tackle a lot of mental health and Kyle's like upbringing and abuse and stuff like that. So if you want to read the lyrics, make sure you do so, because you'll understand where that aggression comes from. It's just channeled in an aggressive way. That's just, it actually, to the point when I first listened to this, it actually scared us with how aggressive it was. It was just like another level that I'd never heard before. But then when Chris's vocals start coming in, it definitely matches that aggression very well. I mean, he's got like a kind of like it's like a mid-range shout sort of tonality to it, but it's scattered across this whole album, from chorusy sections to pre-choruses and stuff like that, and it really divides it a little bit and makes it seem a lot more fresher to listen to. And I love the dynamics between the two, because it really executes in a different sort of level. Like Kyle on his own sounds monstrous, but then Chris comes in and it just it's like pushing him from behind, like etching him a little bit more forward in the mix, and it just feels unnerving to listen to. It makes me hair stand on end, especially when the breakdown call outs. Like one of the highlight ones for me was definitely on the music video that they did for Black of My Eyes, when he says no victory in sight. I mean, when he says that, it just gets you so pumped up. And every breakdown on this album definitely packs a wallet and makes you want to get violent in the pit. I mean, it's absolutely incredible. There's a lot of songs that I do really enjoy on this album. Definitely Black of My Eyes is definitely a highlight for me. Torment, Merciless, Nail in the Coffin. This is plenty tracks on this album to admire, but I'd definitely say Black of My Eyes, Torment, Merciless, Nail in the Coffin, and I would have to say Drowned is another amazing song. We've also got a couple of guest spots on this album as well, I should mention. You've got Jonathan Pence of I Applaud the Impaler, which I haven't listened to them in a long time, and I know they released an album either last year or the year before, I can't remember. It was like kind of like their comeback album, and I got the promo from Unique Leader, but I never actually got around to listening to it. I think it just disappeared into me iTunes library. But yeah, I do need to get onto them, because yeah, to hear his vocals again, I was just like, yeah, I need to go back to that. I mean, I was thinking about it when I was listening to it, but I still haven't gone back to it, so we'll see what happens. And then you've got George Sotomir, I'm not good at pronunciation, as you know, ex-Adalia. Yeah, his vocals I really admired back in the day, and to hear him come back on this song, the song Drown, was definitely something that really surprises, because I thought I recognised his voice at first, but then after a couple more listens, I was like, who the fuck is that? Like, I had his name on the guest spot, and I thought, I have to find out who he is. And I found out it was the old vocalist of Adalia. And I was like, that's where I recognise his voice. So excellent vocal delivery on that song. Definitely has a different sort of tone to Kyle and Chris, so it really... in fact, all the guest spots definitely have that difference in their vocal style. Because there's a lot of guest spots, in my opinion, across... all scenes where they'll get a guest spot and it sounds exactly like the vocalist currently, and I mean, I'm just like, what's the fucking point, you know? Anyway, but then the final guest spot that I want to talk about is on the last track, Prisoners, which is another meaty as fuck song, which features James Mislow, ex-King Conqueror, which I had a nostalgia trip when I had that track on earlier. Like, I could picture when I first heard King Conqueror. Oh, I know it's King Conqueror, but, you know, I say King Conqueror because I'm a thick cunt. Anyway, but yeah, his vocal delivery, like, on that, it shows that he's still got it. And honestly, I really hope he finds a new band, because his vocals are so menacing and iconic in my eyes. Like, from the OG MySpace era, I mean, yeah, you know, come on. Those old King Conqueror songs, fucking come on. But anyway, yeah. There's some absolute bangers on this album, and it's an album that you definitely need to hear. It's definitely one of my favourite albums so far this year, and let's give it a score now, and I'm going to give it a solid 10 out of 10. Absolutely incredible album from beginning to end. It just packs a wallop and I can't stop listening to it. It's a go-to album at the moment, and ever since I first heard it at the start of the year, came out, if I'm not mistaken, roughly around the same time as Immortal by Lorna Shore, and both those albums I keep on going back to, but this one I just can't get enough of at the moment. It's absolutely fantastic, and I know it's going to be at least in the top 5 of come end of year. It's absolutely fantastic from beginning to end. As I said, make sure you check out the songs Black of My Eyes, Merciless, Nail in the Coffin, and Torment. Definitely check out those songs. I'll leave some links to, like, I don't know, 4 or 5 songs from this album down below, and links to their Facebook and all that. And I need to pick this up on CD ASAP, because this is definitely a highlight of 2020. Absolutely incredible stuff. So make sure to check out the new Bodysnatcher entitled This Heavy Void, out now through Stay Sick Recordings. And I'll see you until next video. And remember, stay metal, and I'll see you later.